Whispers of desire in foxwomen lore, uttered by me in ignorance amid forbidden temptation. The accidental summoning. Rahim Ulford hunched over the weathered manuscript, his fingers tracing the delicate Arabic calligraphy that spiraled across yellowed parchment. The university archive in the mountain village was silent except for the hiss of his oil lamp and the distant wind against stone walls. As a linguist specializing in forgotten dialects, he'd spent 3 years cataloguing these texts, and this particular fragment, hidden between treatises on astronomy, intrigued him with its unusual syntax. Why a man tusawiruha ulshork? He murmured, reading aloud to test pronunciation. The words felt strange on his tongue, weighted with something beyond meaning. Wa minute ul-huda ila ul-giab. His voice continued, scholarly and detached, unaware he was completing phrases separated across multiple pages, reassembling an incantation fractured by time. When the final syllable left his lips, the lamp flame bent sideways though no draught touched it. Rahim frowned, checking the window, sealed tight. He marked his place and continued working until exhaustion forced him to his small room adjacent to the archive. That night, dreams came unlike any he'd experienced. Warmth surrounded him, not oppressive but welcoming, like being held by someone who knew every part of him. A voice, feminine, melodious, speaking Arabic so pure it made his modern dialect sound crude, whispered against his ear, "You called without knowing, and so the calling is true." He woke gasping, sheets tangled, the scent of jasmine impossibly thick in his windowless chamber. Rahim checked every corner, finding nothing. He dismissed it as stress and poor ventilation. But the next evening, as he returned to the manuscript, he felt breath on his neck. He spun, empty room. Papers rustled though the air was still. And there, written in the dust on his desk in elegant script he hadn't made, "Why do you not believe what you yourself have awakened?" His hand trembled as he touched the words. They were real. Something was here, summoned by his ignorant recitation, and it knew him. The veiled presence. Rahim stopped sleeping in the archive chamber. For 3 nights he stayed in the village inn, but the presence followed, jasmine scent in locked rooms, warmth beside him in empty beds, and always that voice, clearer each time, speaking his name like a caress. Rahim, why do you flee what your heart summoned? On the 4th night, he returned to confront it. He lit every lamp in the archive, surrounding himself with brightness, and spoke to the air, "Show yourself. I'm a man of reason. If you're real, prove it." Silence stretched. Then, gradually, the lamplight bent and gathered, shadows pooling in the room's center. From that darkness, a silhouette emerged, unmistakably feminine, fluid as smoke. 2 amber eyes opened within the shadow, luminous and ancient. "I am Samira Ulkamar," the voice came, no longer disembodied but emanating from the figure. "Bound by covenant to remain between worlds unless summoned by desire untainted by intention. You spoke the old words without hunger for power, without demand. Only curiosity. Only openness. You're..." Rahim's throat tightened. The lore speaks of fox spirits, but I thought them metaphor. Metaphor protects truth from those unworthy of it. The shadow rippled, and he glimpsed more, the curve of a shoulder, the fall of long hair. "I have answered 12 summonings across 7 centuries. 11 sought to bind me, control me, use me. Their magic reeked of greed." She moved closer, still veiled in shadow but solid enough that he felt her nearness as physical pressure against his chest. "But you..." Her hand, slender, warm, undeniably real, touched his face. "You asked nothing. Wanted nothing but understanding. That purity is rarer than you know." Rahim's breath caught. Her touch ignited something he'd buried under years of solitary scholarship. "What happens now?" "Now," Samira whispered, her form solidifying further, revealing skin like moonlight and eyes that held starlight, "we discover if your accidental summoning becomes deliberate wanting." Her lips hovered near his, waiting, testing, offering a choice he hadn't known existed until this moment. The unfolding intimacy. Rahim didn't pull away. His hand rose, trembling, and touched Samira's face, solid, warm, impossibly soft. She manifested completely in that instant, her fox spirit nature evident in the amber glow of her eyes and the otherworldly grace of her movements, but her form was wholly present, wholly real. Centuries, she breathed against his palm, since anyone touched me without fear or ulterior design. They stood in the lamplight, the archive fading to irrelevance around them. Rahim, who had lived in his mind for 34 years, felt his body awaken to sensation, her fingers threading through his hair, her warmth pressing against him, the jasmine scent now recognizable as uniquely hers. "Tell me," he whispered, surprising himself with boldness, "why you've remained hidden so long." Samira's lips curved sadly. "Because attachment to mortals erodes what I am. Each connection costs me essence. I am ancient, Rahim, but not infinite. Loving someone who dies while I continue, it diminishes me. Yet you're here. Because you summoned me without summoning, wanted me without knowing you wanted. That paradox." She kissed his jaw, his throat, her voice dropping to intimate confession. "That paradox makes you dangerous to my solitude." He guided her to the cushions where he studied, and they sank together, exploration tentative then hungry. Her robes, gossamer thin, woven from moonlight it seemed, parted under his trembling hands. She gasped as he discovered her, mapped her with reverence, and she responded by tracing the incantation's words on his skin with her fingertips. "Here," she breathed, touching his collarbone, "where you said longing. And here," her hand traveled lower, "where you spoke presence." Their joining was slow, profound, each moment savored. Samira moved above him, her hair cascading like dark water, her eyes never leaving his. In that connection, Rahim felt the weight of her centuries, all the loneliness, all the carefully maintained distance, shattering against the simple truth that he wanted her not for magic but for herself. Afterwards, tangled together as dawn approached, she whispered against his chest, "There is always a cost, beloved. Always the revelation of cost." Samira traced patterns on Rahim's bare shoulder as morning light filtered through the archive's high windows. Her touch carried new weight, sorrow mixed with tenderness, and he felt the shift in her before she spoke. "The incantation you read was incomplete by design," she began softly. "Scattered across pages to prevent accidental completion. But you, in your thorough scholarship, reassembled what was meant to stay broken." Rahim turned to face her, dread coiling in his stomach. "What does the complete incantation demand?" She met his eyes, her amber gaze shimmering with unshed tears. "When fox spirit and mortal join through pure summoning, the magic must be sealed to prevent my essence from bleeding into mortality. If I remain with you, loving you, needing you." Her voice cracked. "I will fade entirely. Become human. Die within your single lifetime." "Then we have that lifetime together," Rahim said immediately, gripping her hand. "Or," Samira continued, each word clearly painful, "one of us surrenders all memory of the other. The magic seals, I return to my existence between worlds, and whoever remembers carries the story alone." The cruelty of it struck him like physical blow. "That's the choice? You fade away, or one of us forgets everything we've shared?" "Yes," she pressed her forehead to his. "I have delayed telling you, stolen these nights, because I am selfish. 7 centuries of isolation, and you who summoned me with innocent curiosity, have made me feel alive again." They spent that day and the next in desperate communion, memorizing each other. Rahim catalogued every expression that crossed her face. Samira listened to him read poetry, his voice becoming the anchor she would lose. They made love with fierce attention, knowing each touch might be the last remembered. "I cannot ask you to forget," Samira whispered on the 3rd night. "But I cannot bear watching myself diminish, becoming less than I am." Rahim held her as she wept, understanding that love sometimes meant choosing the least painful wound, and both options would scar them permanently. Love's chosen silence. Dawn arrived too quickly, as final dawns always do. Rahim had made his decision in the darkest hour, watching Samira sleep against his chest, her breathing steady and trusting. "I choose to forget," he told her when she woke. "Rahim, no." "Your existence spans centuries," he interrupted gently, cupping her face. "You have witnessed empires rise and fall, carried wisdom through ages. My single human lifetime cannot compare to that value. If one of us must bear this loss, let it be me. Let me forget so you can continue." Tears streamed down Samira's cheeks. You will not know you loved me. Will not know this changed you. But I will have been changed, he insisted. Something in me will be different, even unnamed. And you will carry our story. That matters. She kissed him then, deeply, desperately, before rising and retrieving the manuscript. Her hands shook as she found the sealing incantation, the final verses he hadn't read that night 3 weeks ago. The magic requires my voice and your acceptance, she explained. With each phrase, memories will fade. Recent ones first, then deeper, until the summoning itself is gone. Rahim nodded, committing her face to memory one last time, knowing it was futile. I'm ready. Samira began, her voice breaking on the ancient words. She held him close, speaking against his lips, and he felt it immediately, the previous night dissolving like morning mist. Their intimate hours together blurring. The archive conversations fading. Know this, she whispered between phrases. You loved purely. You were loved purely. That truth exists even if you cannot hold it. The incantation reached its final line. Rahim blinked, confusion crossing his face as he found himself holding a beautiful woman he didn't recognize. She was crying, and instinctively he wanted to comfort her, but didn't understand why. Who? He began. Samira stepped back, releasing him, her form already beginning to shimmer. No one, she said softly. Just a dream you're forgetting. She vanished as the sun fully rose, leaving Rahim alone in the archive, staring at an open manuscript about fox spirit lore. He felt strangely melancholic, like he'd lost something precious, but couldn't name what. In the space between worlds, Samira Ulkamar wept for the first time in 7 centuries, clutching the memory of a mortal scholar who had loved her without knowing he would, and chose silence so she could endure. Lessons whispered in the space between memory and forgetting. True love asks not what it can possess, but what it can preserve, even at the cost of its own remembering. The purest connections are those born without intention, where hearts meet before minds can construct walls of purpose. Some loves are too profound for single lifetimes to contain. They echo in the spaces we cannot name, the warmth we cannot source. To be loved so completely that someone would choose oblivion to protect you, that is the rarest magic, more powerful than any incantation written in ancient tongues.